Dr. Hyunwoo Park wiped the sweat from his forehead as he studied the strange blue crystals growing from the cave wall. The crystals hummed softly like they were singing a song only he could hear. He had been working on this planet for 2 years now, and these crystals still amazed him every day. Kepler 442b was not like Earth. The sky was purple most of the time, and 2 small moons hung in the air like jewels. The planet had no dangerous animals, which made it perfect for a research colony. 847 people lived here now. Scientists like him, engineers, doctors, teachers, and their families. It was a good life, far from the crowded cities of Earth. Hyunwoo picked up his scanner and pointed it at the largest crystal. The numbers on the screen made him blink twice. These crystals could store energy better than anything humans had ever made. They could also move that energy from one place to another without losing any of it. This discovery could change everything for human colonies across the galaxy. He was about to call his research partner when his communicator buzzed. The voice of Lee So-young, the colony administrator, came through clearly. She sounded worried. "All research teams, please return to the main settlement immediately. We have a situation." Hyunwoo packed his equipment quickly. In 2 years on this planet, So-young had never called an emergency meeting. Something was very wrong. The walk back to the settlement took 30 minutes. As he got closer, he could see people gathering in the main square. Children held their parents' hands tightly. The older kids looked scared but tried to act brave. Adults whispered to each other in small groups. So-young stood on the steps of the administration building. She was a strong woman who had led them through many problems before. But today her face was pale and her hands shook slightly. "Everyone, please listen carefully," she began. 3 hours ago, our long-range sensors detected 15 ships entering our star system. These ships do not match any human design in our database. A woman near the front raised her hand. "Could they be from the Trade Federation? Maybe they want to set up a trading post here." So-young shook her head. "We sent the standard greeting messages on all frequencies." They did not answer. Instead, they moved into attack formation around our planet. The crowd began to murmur. Parents pulled their children closer. Hyunwoo felt his stomach drop. He knew what this meant, even if he did not want to believe it. 1 hour ago, we received a message from the lead ship. So-young continued. The message was in perfect human language. They call themselves the Vorthak Empire. They have given us 48 hours to surrender our colony to them. "Surrender?" shouted an engineer named Yu Haijin. "This is our home. We built this place with our own hands." "I know," So-young said. "But they have made their terms very clear. If we surrender, we will become workers in their mining operations. They say they will treat us fairly and give us food and shelter. If we refuse..." She did not need to finish the sentence. Everyone understood. Dr. Kim Nari, the colony's medical officer, stepped forward. "How many ships did you say?" 15. 15 that we can see. There might be more. And we have what? 2 cargo ships and a few maintenance shuttles. So-young nodded sadly. "Our ships are not built for fighting. The closest human military base is over 200 light years away. Even if we sent a message right now, help would not arrive for months." The crowd fell silent. Everyone was thinking the same thing. They were alone, with no weapons and no way to fight back against an alien empire that wanted to make them slaves. A young teacher named Park Min-soo spoke up. "What about the galactic laws? There are rules about attacking peaceful colonies." An older man laughed bitterly. "The galactic laws only work if someone enforces them, and nobody cares about a small human colony at the edge of nowhere." Hyunwoo looked around at the faces of his friends and neighbors. These were good people who had come here to build something new and peaceful. They had farmers who grew food in the purple soil. They had teachers who helped children learn about science and art. They had engineers who built homes and fixed machines. None of them were soldiers, but they were human. So-young raised her hand for quiet. "I want everyone to know that I will not make this decision alone. We will vote. But first I want to try something." She pulled out a small device that Hyunwoo recognized as a long-range communicator. "I am going to send a message to every human settlement, every space station, and every ship in this part of the galaxy. I will tell them who we are and what is happening to us. Maybe someone will hear us. Maybe someone will help." A woman in the back called out, "But you just said the closest military base is too far away." "The military base, yes, but there are human traders, explorers, and research ships all over this sector. Maybe one of them is close enough to help. Maybe one of them will care." Hyunwoo watched as So-young typed the message on her device. Her fingers moved slowly and carefully. She was choosing each word like it might be the most important thing she ever said. "This is Lee So-young, administrator of the Kepler 442b research colony," she said as she typed. "We are 847 human beings. We came here to study and learn and build a peaceful life. Now we face an enemy that wants to take our freedom. We ask for help from any humans who can hear this message. We are not soldiers, but we are human. We will not surrender our freedom without a fight." She looked up at the crowd. "Should I send this?" The vote was not even close. 400 voices said yes. Only 12 said no, so Young pressed the send button. The message shot out into space at the speed of light, carrying their hope to the stars. Somewhere in the darkness between worlds, the message traveled. Most who received it would delete it or ignore it, but maybe, just maybe, someone would hear it. Someone who could help. As the crowd began to break up, Hyunwoo thought about the crystals in the cave, those strange blue stones that could store and move energy without losing any of it. He had a crazy idea, but crazy ideas sometimes worked. He found Yu Hai-jin in the crowd. "I need to show you something," he said. "Something that might help us." The engineer looked at him with tired eyes. "What could possibly help us now?" "Come with me to the crystal caves. I think I know how we can fight back." Admiral Kim Taemin stood on the bridge of his flagship, the HCFS Indomitable, staring at the message that had just arrived. He had read it 5 times already, but the words still hit him like a punch to the chest. "We are 847 human beings. We came here to study and learn and build a peaceful life. Now we face an enemy that wants to take our freedom." Behind him, his bridge crew worked quietly at their stations. They had all heard the message too. The communication officer, Choi Minji, had played it over the ship's speakers 20 minutes ago. Since then, nobody had said much. Taemin was 52 years old and had been in the human colonial fleet for 30 years. He had seen action against pirates and space raiders. He had rescued stranded ships and protected trade routes. But he had never faced anything like this. His fleet was small, 12 ships total. 6 destroyers that were fast but lightly armed, 4 cruisers with better weapons but not much armor, 2 carriers that held fighter ships and bombers. Altogether, he had 8,000 crew members under his command. Captain Woo Jin-ho, his tactical officer, walked up to him with a data pad in his hands. Jin-ho was a good man and a smart officer. He was also very honest, which sometimes made conversations difficult. "Admiral, I have the intelligence report on the Vorthak Empire," Jin-ho said quietly. "You are not going to like it." Taemin took the data pad and read quickly. The Vorthak were an old spacefaring race that had been expanding their territory for over 1,000 years. They were good at warfare and had strong ships. Their military followed strict rules and used proven tactics that had won them many battles. "How many ships are at Kepler 442b?" Taemin asked. "At least 30, sir. Maybe more. Our long-range sensors show 3 dreadnoughts, 12 heavy cruisers, and 15 destroyers. There might be support ships we cannot see." Taemin felt his heart sink. 30 ships against his 12. 3 dreadnoughts against his 0. And the Vorthak ships were known to be well-built and heavily armed. "What does Fleet Command say about engagement protocols?" he asked, though he already knew the answer. Jin-ho looked uncomfortable. "Fleet regulations are clear, sir. No commander should engage in a battle where defeat is certain, and casualties would be catastrophic. And this would certainly be catastrophic." "Yes, sir. Our computer models show that we would lose at least 8 ships, possibly all 12. The chance of victory is less than 5%. Taemin handed back the data pad and walked to the big window at the front of the bridge. Outside, stars filled the darkness like tiny diamonds. Somewhere among those stars was a small planet where 800 people waited for help that might never come. Choi Minji turned around at her station. She was young, maybe 25, and had joined the fleet straight from the academy. Her job was to listen to radio signals from across the galaxy and keep track of who was saying what. "Admiral," she said carefully, "I have been monitoring Vorthak communications for the past hour." "What are they saying?" "They are treating this as a test case, sir. If they can take this human colony without any interference from the galactic community, they plan to begin expanding into human space. This colony is just the beginning." Jin-ho looked up sharply. "Are you certain?" "Yes, sir. They have sent reports back to their home fleet. They expect an easy victory that will show other races that humans are weak and have no real military power." Taemin felt anger building in his chest. The Vorthak were not just attacking one colony. They were challenging all of humanity. They were testing to see if humans would abandon their own people when things got difficult. "Sir," said Captain Park Soo-jin, walking onto the bridge. Soo-jin commanded the destroyer squadron and was known for her creative thinking. "I have an idea. Tell me. We cannot match them ship for ship, but we do not have to fight them the way they expect us to fight." Tamian raised an eyebrow. "Explain." Soo-jin moved to the tactical display in the center of the bridge. With a few button presses, she brought up a map of the Kepler 442 star system. "Look at this system. It has a large asteroid belt here, and a gas giant with 16 moons here. The Vorthak have positioned their ships in a standard blockade formation around the planet. They expect us to come straight at them. And if we do not come straight at them, then we use the asteroids and the gas giant to hide our approach. We split our forces. Make them think we are attacking from one direction while we hit them from another." Jin-ho shook his head. "That might let us surprise them, but we are still outnumbered 3-1. "Surprise will not be enough," Soo-jin smiled. "It will be if we fight like humans instead of like Vorthak." "What does that mean?" "The Vorthak fight with discipline and formation. They follow rules and use proven tactics. But humans do crazy things. We take risks that other species think are stupid. We fight dirty when we have to." Choi Min-ji spoke up again. "Admiral, there is something else. The colonists are trying to respond to our transmissions, but something is interfering with their communications. I think the Vorthak are jamming them. Can you break through the jamming? Not from here. But if we get closer..." Taman looked around his bridge at these young officers who served under him. They were brave and smart and loyal. If he ordered them to attack, they would follow him into certain death without question. But maybe death was not certain. Maybe there was a small chance, a very small chance, that they could win. He thought about the message again. 847 human beings who had built a peaceful life on a distant world. Farmers and teachers and scientists who had never hurt anyone. Children who played in purple fields under alien skies. The Vorthak thought humans were weak. They thought humans would not risk their lives to save strangers on a faraway planet. "They thought wrong," Choi Min-ji, he said. "Send a message back to the colony. Tell them that the 7th Fleet is coming. Tell them to hold on." "Sir," Jin-ho said quietly. "Are you sure about this?" Taman looked at his tactical officer. Jin-ho was a good man who was trying to keep him from making a terrible mistake. But some mistakes were worth making. "Captain Park is right," he said. "The Vorthak expect us to fight like them. But we are not them. We are human. And humans do not abandon their own." He turned to address the whole bridge crew. "Send word to all ships. We will enter the Kepler system in 6 hours. Captain Park will lead the destroyer squadron on a diversionary attack. I will take the main force through the asteroid belt. We are going to show the Vorthak something they have never seen before." "What is that, sir?" asked a young ensign. "Humans who refuse to surrender." As his crew began preparing for battle, Taman sent a message to his family on Earth. He told them he loved them. He told them he was proud to serve humanity. He did not tell them he might not see them again. Some fights were worth the risk. Some people were worth saving. And sometimes doing the right thing was more important than following the rules. Down in the crystal caves of Kepler 442b, Dr. Hyunwoo Park was explaining his crazy idea to engineer Yu Haijin. The blue crystals around them hummed softly, filling the cave with an eerie light. "You want to do what?" Haijin asked, staring at the scanner readings. "Look at these numbers," Hyunwoo said, pointing at his device. "These crystals can store massive amounts of energy and move it anywhere without losing power. If we connect them to the colony's fusion reactors, we could create a planetary defense grid." Haijin picked up a small crystal and turned it over in his hands. "Even if this works, we are talking about 8 people trying to build a weapon system in less than 2 days. That is impossible. Maybe, but impossible is better than surrender." Above them, Admiral Kim Taemin's fleet was moving through space toward their system. The Admiral had divided his forces exactly as Captain Park Soo-jin had suggested. 4 destroyers led by Captain Park were taking the long route around the system's gas giant. The rest of the fleet was threading through the dangerous asteroid belt. The asteroid belt was a graveyard of rocks and ice chunks, some as small as cars and others as big as cities. Flying through it at high speed was incredibly dangerous. One wrong move could smash a ship to pieces, but it was also the perfect place to hide. Captain Park Soo-jin sat in the command chair of her destroyer, the HCFS Thunder. Around her, 3 other destroyers flew in tight formation. They had been traveling for 4 hours using the gas giant's radiation to mask their engine signatures. "Captain," her sensor officer called out, "I am picking up Vorthak patrol ships near the outer moon." "How many?" "2 light cruisers. They are scanning the area but have not detected us yet." Sujin smiled. The Vorthak were being careful, but they were following standard patrol patterns. Humans would never be so predictable. "Helm, take us closer to the moon's surface. Use the terrain to break up our sensor signature." Her ship dove toward the rocky moon, flying so close to the surface that they could see individual craters and mountains. Behind them, the other 3 destroyers followed like shadows. Meanwhile, in the asteroid belt, Admiral Taemin was having his own problems. The HCFS Indomitable shook as a chunk of ice bounced off their shields. All around them, rocks tumbled through space in endless chaos. "Admiral," his navigation officer said nervously, "we are taking a lot of hits. The shields are holding, but we cannot keep this up much longer." "How much further to the exit point?" 2 hours, sir." Taemin gripped his command chair as another asteroid scraped along their hull. He could hear the metal groaning under the stress. But they had to keep going. The element of surprise was the only advantage they had. Back on Kepler 442b, Hyunwoo and Hae-jin had returned to the colony with samples of the crystals. They found Lee So-young in the communications center, trying to break through the Vorthak jamming signal. "Administrator," Hyunwoo said, "we need to talk to you about a possible defense plan." So-young looked up from her console. She had been working for hours and looked exhausted. "What kind of defense plan?" Hae-jin spread out the crystal samples on her desk. "Dr. Park believes we can use these crystals to create a weapon system powerful enough to fight back against the Vorthak ships." "With crystals?" "These are not ordinary crystals," Hyunwoo explained. "They can store and redirect energy with almost perfect efficiency. If we connect them to our fusion reactors and position them around the colony, we could create energy beams strong enough to damage spacecraft." So-young picked up one of the blue crystals. It felt warm in her hand and seemed to pulse with inner light. "How long would this take to build?" "If we use every engineer and technician in the colony," Hae-jin said, "maybe 36 hours. The Vorthak gave us 48 hours to surrender. Then we had better get started." Within an hour, every technical person in the colony was working on the crystal defense grid. They dug trenches and laid cables. They modified fusion reactor outputs and calibrated energy flow patterns. Children helped by carrying tools and bringing food to the workers. Dr. Kim Nari, the medical officer, found herself helping to install crystal arrays, even though she knew nothing about engineering. "This is insane," she said to Park Min-soo, the teacher who was working beside her. "Probably," Min-soo agreed, connecting 2 power cables. "But it is better than waiting to become slaves." High above the planet, General Krexthul of the Vorthak Empire sat in his command ship and watched his tactical displays. His fleet was positioned perfectly around the human colony. His sensors showed no approaching ships. His jamming systems had blocked all communications from the planet. Everything was going according to plan. Krexthul was an experienced military commander who had conquered 17 worlds for the Empire. Humans were a new species to him, but they seemed typical of most weak races. They built peaceful colonies and had no real military strength. This would be an easy victory. His aide approached his command chair. "General, we have detected some unusual energy readings from the planet's surface." "What kind of energy readings?" "Unknown, sir. The colonists appear to be modifying their power systems." Krexthul waved a dismissive hand. "They are probably trying to boost their communication arrays. Let them waste their time. In 24 hours this will all be over." But the general was wrong. The humans were not trying to send messages. They were building something that had never been built before. A planetary defense system powered by alien crystals and human determination. Captain Park, Sujin's destroyers had reached their attack position near the gas giant's largest moon. Her ships were hidden in the moon's shadow, invisible to Vorthak sensors. "All ships, this is Thunder Leader," she transmitted on a tight beam channel. "Begin final approach in 10 minutes. Remember, our job is to make noise and draw their attention. Hit hard and fast, then pull back before they can organize a counterattack." In the asteroid belt, Admiral Taemin's battered fleet was finally approaching clear space. The Indomitable's hull was scarred and dented, but all systems were still operational. Admiral, his sensor officer called out. I am reading the Vorthak fleet. 32 ships in standard blockade formation around the planet. Any sign that they have detected us? No, sir. They are maintaining position. Taemin allowed himself a small smile. The first part of their plan had worked. Now came the hard part. On the planet below, Hyunwoo made the final connection between the crystal grid and the main fusion reactor. Energy flowed through the network of bluestones, creating a web of power that covered the entire colony. System is online, Heijin reported. All crystals are responding normally. How much power can we generate? So Young asked. More than we ever imagined, Hyunwoo replied. These crystals amplify energy instead of just storing it. We might actually have a chance. General Krexthal was reviewing his final attack plans when alarms began blaring throughout his ship. His tactical officer shouted over the noise. General! 4 human warships are attacking our outer perimeter. The general rushed to his tactical display. 4 small ships were diving toward his fleet from the direction of the gas giant, firing missiles and energy weapons. They were moving fast and attacking with reckless aggression. Only 4 ships? He said. Destroy them. Yes, sir. Deploying squadrons 5 and 6 to intercept. As Vorthak ships moved to engage Captain Park's destroyers, no one noticed the larger human fleet emerging from the asteroid belt on the opposite side of the system. Admiral Taemin's gambit was working. The battle for Kepler 442b was about to begin. The space around Kepler 442b erupted into chaos as Captain Park Soo-jin's 4 destroyers struck the Vorthak outer perimeter like lightning. Her ships moved in patterns that made no sense to the alien commanders, diving, spinning, and weaving through enemy fire in ways that violated every rule of proper space combat. Thunder Leader to all ships, Soo-jin called over the radio. Remember, we are not here to win. We are here to make them angry and confused. Her destroyer, the HCFS Thunder, rolled sideways to avoid a missile from a Vorthak cruiser, then fired back with everything she had. The enemy ship's shields flared bright blue as human weapons hammered against them. General Krexthal watched the tactical display with growing frustration. These 4 human ships were flying like madmen, but they were causing serious damage to his formation. Worse, they were making his fleet look foolish in front of his officers. Send 8 more ships to deal with these insects, he ordered. I want them destroyed immediately. Yes, General. Squadrons 3 and 4 are moving to intercept. As more Vorthak ships moved toward the gas giant to chase Captain Park's destroyers, they left gaps in their defensive formation around the planet. These gaps were exactly what Admiral Kim Taemin had been waiting for. On the bridge of the Indomitable, Admiral Taemin watched his tactical display as the enemy fleet repositioned itself. His ships had emerged from the asteroid belt without being detected, and now they were in perfect position to strike. All ships, this is Admiral Taemin, he transmitted to his fleet. Execute Attack Plan Omega. Target their heavy ships first. Show them what humans can do when we fight for our families. 8 human colonial fleet ships accelerated toward the Vorthak formation like arrows shot from a bow. At their lead, the Indomitable's weapon systems came alive with deadly energy. The first Vorthak ship to die was a heavy cruiser that never saw the attack coming. Human missiles and plasma beams tore through its shields and armor in seconds. The alien ship exploded in a ball of fire and debris. Direct hit on target Alpha, shouted Captain Woo Jin-ho from his tactical station. Enemy cruiser destroyed. But the Vorthak were quick to respond. Their remaining ships turned to face this new threat, and suddenly space was filled with energy beams and missile trails from both sides. The human ships fought like nothing the Vorthak had ever seen. Instead of maintaining formation and trading shots at long range, they dove straight into the enemy fleet. They used their smaller size and better speed to get close enough that the big alien ships could not target them properly. The HCFS Defender, one of Taemin's cruisers, flew directly under a Vorthak dreadnought and fired all weapons point blank into the massive ship's belly. The dreadnought's shields collapsed and its hull cracked open like an egg. General Krexthal could not believe what he was seeing. How many human ships are there? 12 total, sir. 8 attacking our main formation and 4 harassing our outer squadrons. 12 ships against 32 and they are winning? His aide looked nervous. Sir, they are not fighting according to any known tactical doctrine. Our computers cannot predict their movements. Down on the planet, Dr. Hyunwoo Park watched the space battle through the colony's telescope. Explosions lit up the purple sky like deadly fireworks. Human and alien ships danced through space in a ballet of destruction. The crystal grid is fully charged, Engineer Yu Haijin reported. We are ready to activate the defense system. Lee So-young stood beside them, watching as Vorthak landing ships began descending toward the colony. The alien ground forces were coming regardless of what happened in space. How many landing ships? She asked. 24, replied Dr. Kim Nari, who was monitoring the sensors. Each one carries about 50 soldiers. So-young did the math quickly. Over 1,000 enemy soldiers against 800 colonists, most of whom had never held a weapon. The odds were terrible, but they were not helpless anymore. Activate the defense grid, she ordered. Hyunwoo pressed the activation button, and the entire planet seemed to wake up. Across the colony, blue crystals began to glow brighter. Energy flowed through underground networks that connected every building, every power station, and every defensive position. The first Vorthak landing ship was still a mile above the ground when a beam of pure energy reached up from the planet's surface and touched it. The ship simply disappeared, vaporized in an instant. What was that? General Krexthul demanded as he watched another landing ship vanish in a flash of blue light. Unknown energy weapon, sir. It appears to be originating from the planet's surface. From the surface? These are peaceful colonists. They do not have planetary defense systems, but they did now. The crystal grid that Hyunwoo had designed was turning the entire planet into a weapon. Every time a Vorthak ship came within range, focused energy beams reached out to destroy it. In space, the battle was reaching its climax. 3 human ships had been destroyed, but they had taken 8 Vorthak vessels with them. The alien formation was broken and scattered. Captain Park Soo-jin's destroyers were still causing havoc near the gas giant. Her ship, the Thunder, had lost its main engines but was still fighting on maneuvering thrusters and pure stubbornness. Captain, her weapons officer called out, "We are down to our last missiles." "Then we had better make them count," Soo-jin replied. She targeted the nearest Vorthak cruiser and fired her remaining weapons. The enemy ship staggered under the impact but did not die. "Ram it," she ordered, "Captain." "You heard me. All power to forward shields. We are going to ram that cruiser." The Thunder accelerated directly toward the Vorthak ship. At the last second, Soo-jin's crew fired their escape pods, leaving only the captain and a skeleton crew to guide the ship home. The collision was spectacular. The Thunder's reinforced nose smashed through the cruiser's hull like a spear through paper. Both ships exploded in a massive fireball that lit up half the system. But Soo-jin and her crew had already escaped in their pods. Drifting safely away from the destruction, Admiral Taemin saw the explosion and felt his heart skip a beat. But then his communications officer reported that rescue beacons were active. Soo-jin's crew was alive. The Indomitable shook as Vorthak weapons found their target. The flagship's shields were failing, and 2 of her gun batteries were destroyed. But Taemin was not ready to give up. "Target the lead dreadnought," he ordered. "All remaining ships concentrate fire on that ship. If we can break their command structure, the rest might retreat." General Krexthul's flagship was indeed the target of the combined human attack. The massive Vorthak vessel was powerful, but it could not withstand the focused fire of 6 human warships attacking from all directions. The dreadnought's shields collapsed, just as another wave of Vorthak landing ships tried to reach the planet. The crystal defense grid destroyed them one by one, filling the sky with brief stars of destruction. On the colony's surface, the defenders cheered as each enemy ship died. Park Min-soo, the teacher, was operating one of the crystal targeting systems. "This is for trying to make our children into slaves," he shouted as he destroyed another landing craft. General Krexthul felt his ship shudder under human weapons fire. Half his fleet was destroyed or disabled. His ground invasion had been completely stopped by weapons that should not exist. And these insane human pilots were still attacking with a fury that defied all logic. "General," his aide said quietly, "perhaps we should consider withdrawal." Krexthul looked at his tactical display. His perfect plan had become a disaster. The humans had somehow turned a hopeless defense into a devastating counterattack. For the first time in his long military career, General Krexthul gave an order he had never expected to give. "All ships retreat to jump distance. We are leaving this system." The Vorthak fleet began to pull back, but the humans were not finished with them yet. The retreat of the Vorthak fleet was not the orderly withdrawal that General Krexthul had planned. His ships fled the Kepler 442 system like scared animals, leaving behind the wreckage of 16 vessels and their proud reputation. Admiral Kim Tae-min stood on the damaged bridge of the Indomitable and watched the enemy ships jump to hyperspace. Around him, his crew worked to repair systems and tend to the wounded. They had paid a heavy price for victory, 3 ships destroyed and 2 more badly damaged. Over 800 crew members were dead or injured, but they had won. Against all odds, 12 human ships had defeated a superior alien fleet and saved 800 colonists from slavery. Admiral, Communications Officer Choi Min-ji called out, "I am receiving messages from across the galaxy. News of our battle is spreading fast." "What kind of messages?" "Everything, sir. News services, diplomatic channels, military frequencies. Everyone wants to know how we defeated the Vorthak Empire." Down on the planet, Dr. Hyunwoo Park was documenting the crystal defense grid for his research reports. The blue stones had performed beyond his wildest dreams, but he knew that other scientists would want to understand exactly how the system worked. Engineer Yu Hei-jin found him in the main crystal cave, taking detailed measurements. "The news reporters are asking for interviews," Hei-jin said. "They want to know how a xenobiologist and an engineer built a planetary defense system in 36 hours. Hyunwoo looked up from his scanner. "What should I tell them?" "The truth. We had no choice, so we did the impossible." Lee So-young was dealing with her own flood of communications in the colony's administrative center. Representatives from 12 different governments wanted to establish diplomatic relations. Trade corporations were offering lucrative contracts. Military analysts were requesting detailed tactical reports. But the most important message came from Earth itself. The Human Colonial Authority was sending a full fleet to establish a permanent military base in the Kepler system. Humanity had announced itself to the galaxy as a force that would protect its own. And Earth intended to back up that promise with action. Dr. Kim Na-ri was treating the last of the wounded colonists when Park Min-soo brought her some interesting news. "The galactic news networks are calling our battle the miracle of Kepler 442, he said. "They cannot believe that such a small human force defeated the Vorthak Empire." "It was not a miracle," Nari replied as she bandaged a child's scraped knee. "It was just humans doing what humans do best." "Which is what?" "Refusing to give up." The political effects of the battle spread across the galaxy like ripples on a pond. The Altruian Republic, which had previously considered humans too weak for a military alliance, sent an immediate offer of mutual defense cooperation. The Galactic Trade Confederation fast-tracked Earth's membership application. Even the mysterious Synthesis Collective expressed interest in studying human tactical innovation. But the most significant change happened within the Vorthak Empire itself. General Krextel found himself facing a military tribunal for his defeat. The Empire's ruling council could not understand how their proven tactics had failed so completely against an inferior enemy. "The humans do not fight according to any logical pattern," Krextel explained to the stern faces of his judges. "They take risks that should result in their destruction, but somehow those risks lead to victory. They fight as if they care more about their cause than their own lives." The tribunal was not impressed with his explanation. The general was stripped of his rank and exiled to a remote mining colony. But his words would be studied by Vorthak military strategists for years to come. They had learned something important about humanity. Humans would do anything to protect their own people. And that made them more dangerous than any superior technology. Captain Park Soo-jin was rescued from her escape pod 6 hours after ramming the Vorthak cruiser. Her first words when she was brought aboard the rescue ship were, "Did we win?" When they told her yes, she smiled and asked for a new ship. 3 months later, the Kepler 442b research colony had become the Kepler 442b military and scientific station. The crystal defense grid had been expanded and improved. New research facilities were studying the unique properties of the blue crystals, and a full squadron of human colonial fleet ships patrolled the system. But the most important change was in how the galaxy viewed humanity. Admiral Taemin received a message from the High Command on Earth. He had been promoted to Fleet Admiral and given command of the new 7th Expeditionary Force, a fleet of 60 ships, tasked with protecting human colonies throughout the Mari frontier. His first mission would be to respond to another distress call from human colonists facing alien threats, because word had spread across human space. When colonies sent appeals to the galaxy, the fleet would hear them first, and the fleet would always answer. Dr. Hyun-woo's discovery of crystal energy amplification led to revolutionary advances in defensive technology. Human colonies began installing crystal-based defense grids on dozens of worlds. The technology was shared freely with any species that faced aggression from expansionist empires. The galaxy learned that humans were not just willing to fight for their own freedom. They were willing to help others fight for theirs too. Lee So-young remained as administrator of the Kepler station, but now she oversaw a community of 5,000 people instead of 800. Scientists came from across human space to study the crystals. Engineers came to learn new defense techniques, and military officers came to understand how a hopeless battle had become a famous victory. She kept the original distress message displayed in her office as a reminder. We are human. We seek aid. We will not surrender our freedom. Those words had traveled across the galaxy and found Admiral Taman's fleet. But they had done more than that. They had announced to every species in known space that humanity would answer the call when freedom was threatened. The message became the unofficial motto of the human colonial fleet. When pirates attacked trade routes, fleet ships would arrive with that message. When tyrants threatened peaceful worlds, human marines would land carrying those words. When alien empires tried to expand into human space, they would face fleets that fought with the spirit of Kepler 442b. A year after the battle, Park Min-soo started a school for the children of the station. His first lesson was about the day their small colony stood up to an empire and won. He taught them that courage was not the absence of fear, but the willingness to do what was right despite being afraid. Remember, he told his students, we are human. When someone needs help, we answer. When someone threatens our freedom, we fight, and we never ever surrender. The children listened carefully and promised to remember. They would grow up knowing that their home had become famous not for conquest or domination, but for proving that ordinary people could do extraordinary things when they stood together. The battle for Kepler 442b became a legend that spread throughout human space and beyond. It was the story of 800 colonists who refused to become slaves, 12 ships that challenged an empire, and crystals that sang with the voice of human determination. But most importantly, it was the story of how humanity announced itself to the galaxy, not as conquerors but as protectors. They had sent an appeal to the stars, and the fleet had heard it first. The echo of that appeal would resonate across the galaxy for generations to come. In the years that followed, whenever human colonies faced threats, they would send out the same simple message. We are human. We seek aid. We will not surrender our freedom. And somewhere in the darkness between stars, the fleet would always hear them. The fleet would always answer, because that was what humans did. They answered the call.